So welcome everyone. So today we are going to talk about what are we talking about? What do you want to talk about? How to heal from trauma and some pointers on how to heal from it. So some people are like, I actually had somebody mention to me like, I don't think I have trauma, so I'm not going to come. Okay. So let's start off with what is trauma, yeah? Can we like, so what I want to do is I just want to set the bar, or set the tone with what is trauma, and is it something that you may experience in your body. So the definition that I use is it's an experience of a threat, disconnection, isolation, or immobilization that results in chronic dysregulation of your nervous system, your endocrine system, your emotional body, your immune system, your heart, and or your spirit. If you're in a non-optimal state long term, there is some type of trauma to look at. So by that definition, can I would speculate that everyone's experienced trauma in some way, shape, or form, right? So most people think trauma is a physical thing, like I was abused or my parents survived a war, or you see, like a physical accident or an injury and whatnot. But in this context, it's not just some aggressive physical injury. It's something that it's a very broad topic. I use the word dysregulation a lot, so that to me is, again, it's synonymous with the word trauma. It's depending on your race, your gender, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, each person's trauma is unique. Also, there's epigenetics, which, based on what your grandparents and what your, history is in your DNA, it gets passed on because the research is there. So if you've been struggling in life with something, someone, some shape or whatever, it's probably because there's some type of trauma. So we all agree that everyone has experienced some type of trauma in some way, shape, or form? Yes? Would we agree with that? Okay. Okay. So how do we heal from it is really what we're going to talk about. So essentially, like, we can all agree everyone's experienced some type of trauma or dysregulation, however you want to use that. Because a lot of people, when we talk about trauma, a lot of people think big T, little t, right? Big T is like your abuse, war, that sort of thing. Your little t's are like, well, depending on what you think, but it could be a breakup in a relationship, an animal dying, being in a car accident, that sort of thing. Being scared out of your mind. So it's funny because my kids are like, Mommy, Halloween's coming. And I'm like, yay. And they're like, why do you hate Halloween? And I never really understood why until I really started understanding the nervous system. And it's because I don't like the feeling of being scared. I don't like it. I don't like, I love it. I'm an adrenaline junkie, but I don't like the feeling of being scared. And Halloween to me represents that. It's all about, like, my kids are always like jumping out trying to scare me and, that sort of thing. And I have friends that I grew up with that. And my brother used to do that to me a lot, and I didn't like it. But I didn't know how to articulate it once upon a time. Now I know it's because that feeling, that sensation of when you're scared, it's a trigger for me. And so that's why my kids are often, like, it's just Halloween, Mommy. I'm like, I understand, but I need you to understand that's a feeling that I have inside of me. But I will appease you and I will do the thing. Yeah, I don't like scary movies either. Like, I still remember when I saw Pet Sematary and I still look under beds. Like, it's like, And I remember seeing some, and it was just, it wasn't safe. The people that I was watching scary movies with, it wasn't safe. Sometimes people thrive off of that. And that's just, again, that just goes to show on how resilient some people's nervous systems are. Like, some people need that adrenaline rush to feel a shift in their nervous system. They need that. It's like those people that are always searching for the runner's high, or you're always like, you need that cup of coffee to wake you up in the morning. That's because you need something to get you going to shift whatever nervous system state you're in, right? At the end of the day. So anyway, I digress. But so what we're here to talk about is how can we start healing from it. And so I'm just going to go over some different points as to things that you probably already know. They're probably common sense and you probably heard about it, but I'd appreciate questions. if you want to, dive into a little bit more on any of the points that I make. And then at the end, I'm going to I'll also share some healing techniques that I know have worked for me when you're trying to heal trauma, especially depending on where you are in your journey. There's so many options. There's so many options for healing trauma that it just depends on where you're at, and we can talk about like what can we do to help you heal from your trauma from today on. So the idea is that I want you to be able to take something from this call. I appreciate you sharing your time with me, and I know your time is very valuable. So I want you to be able to take something from this and be like, yeah, I can apply this moving forward. Cool, to help me heal my trauma. So the first one is, it's a big one. It's something that most of you, that's how you met me, is through social media. So when you're healing trauma, the first thing that we need to take a look at is how much media exposure are you exposing your eyes particularly to. Eyes are a big piece of the puzzle when it comes to healing trauma, and what you're looking at matters. So if you're someone that has a very full stress bucket, if you're someone that has a low window of tolerance or has a low stress resistance, like you don't like things trigger you very easily, limiting media is important. And people often talk about like social media detoxes. People talk about like taking breaks and they have to delete the apps from their phone and whatnot. But the idea is they do that because they recognize, they feel that their stress bucket is full. And so they need to remove themselves from being exposed to that. Because sometimes, like I often hear like, like, well, in Canada it's a little bit different, but like on Facebook in particular, you get a lot of ads and you get a lot of negative messaging of, of what's going on in the world and whatnot. And, or even if you listen to the news, it's pretty much all negative. And so that takes a toll on our nervous systems, right? So we just want to be able to limit that and understand that what you're looking at matters, and is your trauma past from your life, from your grandmother's life, your mom's life, all the people, your grandparents, and like from the generations behind, like the things that they saw, that's in your DNA. So that may influence, that may trigger you at the end of the day, and you don't know what's going to be coming. So that's why we want to limit that. Pretty self-explanatory, yeah. So the next one is accept how you feel. Okay, so this is a big one when we come to trauma. So when I was first exploring trauma, it was very much like good or bad. They're good or bad emotions. It's right or wrong, right? And from the work that I've done at this point, I believe there's not a right or wrong emotion. All emotions are welcome. And it's really about honoring what is showing up. So if you are feeling angry, if you are feeling lonely, if you are feeling abandoned, if you are feeling embarrassed, we don't want to avoid those. We want to lean into that. And so most of us, it is absolutely liberating. Most of us tend to go on social media to distract ourselves. And so Yvonne was sharing a term yesterday. It was something like STIRB, short-term energy release behaviors. So I'd never heard of that before, but basically it makes complete sense. It's like, what do we do when we feel angry? What do we do when we feel some emotions that are uncomfortable? We typically go on social media, we eat, or, we distract ourselves, we disassociate, we shut down. And so instead of doing that, the hard work is to be able to lean into that and to give yourself the time to feel the feels, right? And people say that, so much easier said than done. If you're here, you've probably experienced, a few feelings and you're more aware of them, but you're understanding that, it's important to lean into the hard ones, and it's really hard to do by yourself, right? It's really, really hard. And sometimes like you don't want to. So that's where, you're feeling something. That's why like phoning a friend or having a group or a community really, really, really makes a difference. But the idea is we don't want to disassociate and avoid feeling the harder feelings. It's STIRB, right, Yvonne? Short term energy releasing behaviors, right? STERB, right? Yeah. Yeah, STIRB, short term energy. So the idea is when we feel emotions, what you want to practice to heal your trauma is this is, I call them movement snacks. What you want to practice is having um, a list of small behaviors or actions that you can do to help you feel the feelings. So, for instance, it could be drinking a cup of tea. It could be walking barefoot in the grass. It could be shake, shrug, and sigh. It could be rubbing your hands together. It could be putting a heating pad on your belly. It could be so many different things, right? But the idea is we want to connect with our body and you want to choose something that is very sensory focused. So if it's smelling something, listening to something, looking at something, touching something, you need to figure out what your sensory hierarchy is. And that's something that I do with the people that I work with. And it's really about understanding, like, do I like vibration? Do I not like vibration? Do I like the smell of lavender versus frankincense? Do I like, hip hop music, or do I like country? So when we know what our nervous systems need, so like when you're feeling embarrassed, what type of sensory input do you need to so that you can lean into it and not avoid feeling embarrassed? Does that make sense? Yes, it's very hard to do, and that's why we do it in groups, and that's why we practice together. Yay. So the big thing is practice kindness and be patient with yourself. Very hard to do. It's very, like I said, this stuff is easier said than done, but that's why we do it in a group. So it's, you're reminded. So learning to reconnect and be uncomfortable and sit with those uncomfortable feelings is really a key piece to being able to heal your trauma. It's not, it's like, I call it, it's all about putting in the reps. So what are the little micro movement snacks that you can do every day and practice every day to lean into whatever emotions you're feeling? Okay. Any questions on that? No, we're good. Cool. All right. Next one is point number 3 when you're trying to heal your trauma is take positive actions. And what I mean by that is to overcome those feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, and fear. There are some positive actions. So when we start doing things, so a lot of us are I like to serve others. I like to help others. I'm pretty much everyone that is watching this. I guarantee you've built a life serving others in some way, shape, or form. Yes? Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Like, you wouldn't resonate with me otherwise, right? It's like, yes, that is me. I'm a recovering people pleaser. I'm really good at serving others and showing up for people, and I'm that friend. I'm the friend that everybody phones and says, can you help me? I'm the, like, if it's not you, it's your children, or, like, if you're like me, you've probably parented a parent, that sort of thing. So you had to become a parent very young, and you had to grow up really quickly. So that's part of the trauma experience. So taking positive action may be a little bit easier for you, such as, like, you might be a blood donor. You might, volunteer at charities. You might open a door for a stranger. So just like yesterday, I was at Costco and I was putting the groceries in my car, and I was finishing, my cart was like almost done, and there's a lady who was returning her cart, and she's like, can I take that for you? And I'm like, absolutely, thank you. So it's like, because so many people would walk by and not think about it, but she did. So I was like, that was like a true kindness. And I'm like, I appreciated that. I took a moment and I said, thank you. I appreciate that. So doing those little things, smiling at somebody when you go for a walk. So this is something that I noticed. I don't know if anybody's like lived on the East Coast and West Coast, you maybe know what I'm going to talk about. Whenever I go for a walk on the East Coast, what do you think people do when you go for a walk on the East Coast?
They look away from you.
That's right. They look down and they don't give you a head nod. They don't do nothing. They just walk, and it's like focused on, I got to get to my destination, or I'm here to look in nature or whatever. On the West Coast, what do you think people do? Hey,
Say hi.
hi. You enjoying the weather? How's Lola? They come and talk to you. And that's a big thing. It's like people smile. And it's like, what is it with the West Coast and the East Coast people? I was like, I grew up in Oregon, so I'm like, it can't be the rain, because the rain is very depressing. But yeah,
It's that
so
noise
hikes,
and
absolutely.
that New England kind of independent thing, because I grew up in California. I lived in New Orleans for 10 years, and then I moved up here, and it's like, oh my God, what is wrong with you people?
Right?
You know,
Right?
it's
It's
like,
so true. And
really?
then Canadians are a mixed bag. I don't know what it is. So can't so you can get a nice Canadian, and sometimes you Canadians are like, meh, I don't want to, it's like whatever. It's a hit and miss. But that's where like the fact that I've lived on, both sides of the country, I don't know. But it's just like it's when we're trying to heal, it's that little thing of being friendly and being kind, and that's a big piece of the puzzle. And the fact that Ellen DeGeneres would have to remind people at the end of her show is be kind to people. It's like the fact that we have to be reminded is just something that our nervous systems, our trauma experiences have set us up to be more on the defense and not on the offense. So if we're going to heal our trauma, it's time to take our power back and go on the offense and, extend that smile and take somebody's cart or, you know, um, volunteer your time in some way, shape, or form. So, Wendy, you can also, what? Do I need to read that?
No, I just put a mini definition of stirrups in there.
Oh, there
That's
you
all.
go. Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, yeah. So, when we're trying to heal trauma, we focus on the positives because we know when you're feeling like and you're in pain and when you're feeling blah, being positive is very, very hard. So, this is where talking about like if you're going to come positive action, I talk about the different type of bodies when we're healing trauma. So, the bodies that I talk about is the physical body, the mental body, the emotional or energetic body, and the spiritual body. So, when we talk about positive action, the other thing you can look at is which of my bodies am I looking to heal by doing this action? Is it the physical body? Like I'm going to go for a walk and move my physical body. Is that how I'm going to heal in a positive way? Or am I going to do a meditation and sit with my emotional or my mental body? Or am I going to do some journaling just to get my mental right? So there's just different ways that we can focus on the positive actions to heal our different bodies. And that's what I believe is one of the differences that I share with healing trauma using movement is that we look at all four bodies and we're not just focused on the mental or the physical or the emotional or the spiritual. We look at all of them, and it's taking a step back and reflecting on that. But that being said, another thing that you can do to help heal your trauma is my specialty, move your body. And what you want to do is focus on things that make you feel good, right? So everybody's like, I got to exercise. I got to go for a walk, even though it hurts. But the key is movement is relative to you, right? And I just want to say there's a difference between exercise and movement. And that's where it was a few years ago now, is I made that transition of exercise. Like when you think of the word exercise, what does everybody think of? Like what's the first word that, like, type it in the chat, or if you want to say it out loud, what's the first word you think of when you think of exercise?
Go for a
Gym.
run.
Go for a run, gym,
Hard work.
hard work, cardio,
Boring.
pain,
Stress.
sweat. What's that?
Stress.
Stress, sweat, right. So it's usually a negative connotation. So when a resistance to it, exactly, Clover. So the idea is that, so if I'm waking up first thing in the morning and I think, oh my God, I got to exercise and I know I got to go lift some weights and it's not something I enjoy, how easy is it? Like, how motivated am I going to be to like get up and get going to support myself? Pretty much a zero, right? So if I know that I have to come down, like I'm upstairs, I come down to my gym and I'm like, I know I have to like bench press and I got to do some like squats with like weight on my back. How motivated am I going to come down? Even it's right here. I just got to walk down my stairs. It's right here. I'm like, how come I can't do it? Because of the resistance. Because for me, exercise is a punishment because of what I ate, because of whatever I did. I'm like, I'm not good enough. My body doesn't look like Barbie. My body doesn't look like people that, are supposed to be, quote unquote, sexy. And so I need to punish my body. And so that's what I was trained, and I hid myself through exercise because I didn't want people to see me. So I really focused on that. So now for me, the psychology of, I switched it to, I'm going to go move my body. So when you think of movement, what word association what comes up for you when I say Movement, dance. Two of you. Dance. What is movement? So what else? What's the word association? Joy,
Flow.
flow, love it. Connection to the body, rebounding, love it.
Fun.
Stretching. What's that on?
Fun.
Fun. Yeah. So when we think about waking up in the morning, I'm like, I'm going to go move my body. Invigorating. Awesome. For me, it's curiosity. I'm going to see what shows up when I move my body today. It's just that curiosity of finding out, like, let's see what's gonna move and what doesn't move and what feels good and whatnot. And the idea is, it's about movement. To me, is about connection, and it's allowing you to connect that subconscious to your conscious mind. So many of us, when we think about, exercise or moving our bodies for physical health, it's very much in our conscious mind. Like, I need to do this for my health, to lose weight and whatever. But the idea is that when I think of movement, it's about how can I marry my subconscious and my conscious mind. So it's, yes, you're going to get amazing yeah, how badly with my joints. For me, it's my feet, because I've always had issues with my feet. How much pain and tingling will I get in my feet? It used to be in my back, then it moved to my shoulders, and now it's in my foot. So it's moved around. So it's like, how well, like, what's going to happen? But and we all know the health benefits of moving our bodies. Yeah, releasing endorphins. It's good for blood pressure, mental clarity. You get all the feel good hormones. There's so many amazing things that you can get health benefit wise. Like, I mean, if you don't know the benefits of exercise or movement, you live under a rock, and that's okay, because, well, you probably live in a cave, so you don't need to worry about it, because you're already doing it anyway, because that's how you have to survive. So it's just, the idea is, when we practice movement, the big key that I want you to hear is, like, I've been talking about movement, about it. The big key when people move their bodies is intention. What is the intention that you're bringing when you move your body? And that's really how we start marrying the subconscious and the conscious mind. That many people are like, I'm just doing this to check a box. I'm just doing this because my doctor told me to. I'm just doing this because I want to lose weight, right? But the idea is that, what's the intention we want to bring to the table when we move our bodies, for sure. Okay, so Clover's asked, so as a recovering anorexic bulimic, it's so hard to not approach exercise without the desire to attain a better body. How does one change that narrative? I want to leave that behind. So, like I'm saying, so the intention. So what is your intention when you move your body, Clover? The intention will change the game for you. And also, honestly, remove the word exercise from your vocabulary for now. To get thinner, I'm afraid. What are you afraid of? Your intention is to get thinner?
I'm very English. Yes,
right.
it's like, I'm afraid. So the intention is to become thinner, or to, just to get that body that I've always had but never saw. So it's a lot of dysmorphia. But the expression is, I'm afraid. To get thinner, I'm afraid, is just very English. I don't know how to explain that. It's not I'm afraid, but unfortunately, yes, that's the word.
Okay, but when you move your body, it's with the intention to be thinner.
When I exercise, I mean, that's the underlying principle, the underlying message, or the underlying desire, is to rid my body of as much body fat as possible. But I'm also, I want to be smaller. And I mean, it's ridiculous. It's not ridiculous, actually. I shouldn't say that. I have an amazing body at the age that I am, the size that I am, and all of those things. But there's still this message of dysmorphia, of I need to lose that 10 pounds. And I don't think it's an uncommon thing, but for me, it became pathological. And I really want to change that narrative. I've bought a rebounder and I was really enjoying the rebounder, and I kind of messed my knees up, and I've gone to stop doing that. And within 2 weeks, I put on half a stone, which is 7 pounds. And it feels like a cycle of body loathing that I have. And I know it's around control and that I had a lack of control. And my body was the thing that I could actually control. But I'm menopausal now. And then it's another wave of bodily change and another wave of feeling out of control. And, you know, it's just, I really want to change the dysmorphic message that I have, that if I move, it has to be with the intention to lose weight, rather than, I love walking and I do walking, but I'm still thinking, okay, that's 200 calories, or that means that in a week's time that it's just overwhelming. I'm exhausted. And it's for years and years and years. It's like 40 years. I'm recovered. I'm not practicing the physical aspects of these dysmorphic disorders, but the narrative is still there, and the narrative is huge. So I don't hurt and harm myself anymore, but the pathway, the neurons, all of that tells me that my body doesn't carry fat well, that I feel horrible, that I'm dragging myself. I can't wear my clothes. I can't, it's just overwhelming. I'm in quite a low space at the moment. So you're getting the raw. It's not always like this, but I've come with low life state at the moment. So and there we have it.
Well, thank you for
I'm
sharing,
afraid.
first of all. Thank you for sharing that, and for being open and honest. Um, and I think you're right. You're not alone, because I'm like, I've been in your shoes, Clover, for sure, personally, because I've experienced the same issues in my life as well. I can only speak from my experience of what I did to help shift my mindset, and it's really um because it's easier to think about the negative things. And so for you, the mental body is sounds like it's like your biggest obstacle.
Yeah.
It's the mental struggle that you have, that you for so many years. So how I started shifting specifically with the mental body was journaling, but using journaling prompts, not not letting my mind just have free reign. One was like, I got a book to help me specifically with prompts on how to shift my mindset. Another thing that I did was I had to text, or I had to voice memo a friend 5 things that I loved about my body,
Wow.
which was hard. I've done this with some of my ladies in my groups. It's hard. The first couple days you're like, yeah, I got this. No problem. And then on the third day, you're like, I've run out of things to love about myself, my body. And it's just like, it's really, really hard. And so that's where it's putting in the reps. So if you have to start with one thing a day that you love about yourself, but you do it multiple times a day, you repeat the same thing. So that's where the I Am app, have you heard of it before?
No.
So there's an I Am app, and it's really cool because what it does is you can set it up to send you notifications. And what I did to help me when I'm having those down days is the notifications come about 5 times a day, and it's around health and my body specifically. And what it does is it'll send you a positive mantra, if you will, like, I love my body today, or something like that, right? So like, see if I can find the latest one. So I welcome love with open arms was the one I got this morning. So how I did it is that I would read that and I would say, do I believe that? Yes or no? And if it was a no, then I'm like, I keep the notifications coming. It's just, but because what it does, it makes you pause. So, because what you start thinking and what you start reading, it changes your mindset. So what happened for me after a couple months of reading these things 5 times a day, I would start reading, I would get a notification. I'm like, yeah, I do believe that. Yeah, I do believe that. Yeah. And then you start being, and this is where we start bringing in more kindness with our bodies. So And then the other thing too is that whenever I step to the mat, let's say I'm going to go for a walk, like let's say you're going to go for a walk and for like
Yeah.
with the positive mindset, whatever, is that you would say something, I'm going for a walk for because I love my body. I'm going
Wow.
for this walk to show kindness to myself. Like for me, my belly is like really, because I'm like you, like I'm maybe perimenopausal, like my body's changing, hormones are changing, whatever. What I do every day is I put my hands on my belly as much as I like loathe looking at myself in the mirror, my belly, as I put my hands there and I'm like, I love you. Thank you for protecting me.
God.
It's hard. It's very, very hard. And so this is where
I
having
know. Well, definitely.
support, having support is really important. So it's like, is there somebody that you can like message or that you can share these messages to?
Yeah. Yeah, I could do that. I've got someone.
Perfect. So you want somebody that will hold you accountable to sending something. But the I am app will be, I think is easy because you just got to set it up and you just look at it. And it's just like, yes, do I believe it? Yes or no? That's how I used it. Yes or no, do I believe that? And if it was constantly a no, then I would just keep wait for the next notification. Because the idea is that we want to do is we want to shift your mindset. So for you, the mental body is the is really the key. Because when we look at the four bodies, you're trying to shift and change your physical body by using the mental body.
Yeah,
Does that
I've
make
heard.
sense?
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of stuff on social around like somatic exercise. I mean, they've just really buggered it, pardon my language. They've really commercialized and it, but there was some talk around how weight doesn't really shift until you change your mindset, and then that can have impact on the physiological, so the cortisol levels go down and things like that. So it does make sense. Yeah,
It just depends on which door are you coming through. Some people, like the therapists, are going to say it's all about mind over matter. Joe Dispenza people are going to be it's just think you're going to think your way to healthy.
yeah,
Right? I've
yeah,
done that. But the thing is for me, my nervous system knows if I'm faking it to make it.
yeah,
I lived that life. I never believed I was good enough. I never believed I was worthy enough. I'm like, but I'm
yeah,
going to say it, but I don't believe it. So
yeah.
for
Well, that,
me, the mental door didn't work.
yeah,
That's why I was like, I gotta go through a different door. I can't go in this door. So that's where, for me, I went to the physical door. I can move my body in different ways. So I'm just gonna focus on the movement and how it feels, then not actually think about what I'm doing for my body.
okay,
So then after I kind of, I did that for like that was really during the pandemic. I shifted from exercise to I'm just going to get up and I'm going to move my body. I'm going to see how it feels. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to see how it feels. This feels good. This doesn't feel good. But I'd set a clock and I'm like, I'm going to move for this amount of time. Or I actually started with music. I'm like, I'm going to play 3 songs and I'm going to move however I need to move for these 3 songs and just see how that feels. That's it. Super simple. Then when you do that, you start exploring the door of the emotional world. And you're like, oh, what are these emotions? What are these sensations that are showing up on different days? Especially when you move really slow versus moving really fast, right? So then you get to explore that. And then the other piece is your purpose, your spiritual piece. Do you know what your purpose is in life? Do you remember did you do that session with us?
I'm working my way through, and I've not got there yet. I'm just
Okay.
taking my through 1, 2, and 3, and repeat 1, 2, and 3, and repeat. So, I yeah, I
Okay.
will time around that one. Yeah.
Okay, so I'd recommend that you go watch that class. Go
Okay.
watch, and then do the meditation and figure let's see like let's figure out what your emotional purpose is in life
Okay.
because it's going to give you that north star. So for me once I figured out, so like when I was healing my trauma, like mine changed very quickly because I was healing really fast. But when like now it's about connection. When I first started, it was I don't remember what it was at the beginning, but there's an emotional purpose for you. So we need to find your North Star so that when you do the movement, you step on the mat. So for me, it's connection to me. When I step on the mat, the reason I'm doing this movement is to connect with my body.
Okay.
And that's
It-
what you say. So that's how you start shifting the mental. So then that can be the spiritual body, that door that you're going through. So you're trying, so moral of the story is you're trying to heal your physical body using your mental.
Yeah.
And you're not getting anywhere because they're not connecting. It's literally like you're trying to you have the problem down here, like how it works in the brain. The problem is down here at your brain stem, but you're trying to use logic to solve an emotional problem.
Okay.
So what we have to do is there's a disconnect. So we need to get out of your logic brain and get into your emotional brain, which is 2/3 of your brain.
So out of logic brain into emotional brain.
Yeah. So we have to get into your subconscious.
Okay.
So about sensory inputs,
Okay.
which is we can dive into in another talk. Sound good?
That's super helpful. Just one last thing. Excuse me. Is I'm a highly sensitive person, clinically diagnosed by the psychotherapist when I had my ADHD. So I can now tell myself that I am not mad. I'm not crazy. It is truth. But I've just been exploring being a highly sensitive or highly emotional person, using an amazing book that I found and worksheets. It's by my bed. If I'm doing that work, which is looking at my triggers, trying to improve on my sleep, it's looking at the emotional stuff, but some of it's physical. Would I be confusing myself if I'm trying to look at this mental body work if I put that in? I mean, I think it's great. I'm all up for the app. I'm all up for doing that. But I think I don't want, I just,
One thing at a time. Yeah.
is it the one thing at a time?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
your brain, okay, your brain wants two things. Do you know what
Yes.
they are?
Oxygen
Yeah, oxygen,
and stimulation.
predictability.
Ah,
The more
okay.
predictable something is, the safer you are. So
Yeah.
whenever you move your body, Clover, it's not safe.
Okay.
So when you choose a modality, you need to do it in the name of safety.
Yeah.
So what is the most simple, predictable thing that you can do to help your body feel safe?
In terms of
Sorry,
a movement or an exercise or
anything.
um walking makes me feel really good. That's why I moved to Barry.
Does that make you feel safe?
It doesn't make me feel unsafe.
Okay. Is there something easier than walking that helps you feel safe?
My cat
Okay.
stroking.
Okay.
In terms of a movement, I feel good doing yoga.
Okay.
Dance. I love dancing. Dancing is the best form of movement for me, really.
Okay. So how often do you dance?
Not enough.
Once a day, twice a day, once a week?
Ooh, maybe once a week, but
Okay.
I've just been looking. I've got an app that has loads of, I was just looking at this morning today, actually. And it's got loads of dance routines. And whenever I do them, I always feel really good. And I don't have to go to a dance class for it. I just put it on. It's on my phone. I can put it on my telly and dance. Yeah,
So start there.
fantastic. I'm an expert.
One song, one dance every day. It's putting in the reps. You want to dance every day because that's how we start shifting the nervous system. Small, predictable movement snacks.
Okay. Even if I'm learning something, do I have to just dance freely or is it?
Yeah. Nope.
Or,
Freely, because it's about movement. It's not about
okay.
doing it. There's no right or wrong when it's movement. However
So,
you do it is perfect.
but a dance class, as in a dance class showing me how to do moves and then actually doing the moves, that's got an element of unpredictability until I've learnt them. So
Correct.
still, is that not the kind of dance or just free?
No, we want
Just,
freestyle.
okay, cool. I can do that.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
my gosh.
literally, I'm telling you, Clover, find your favorite song, put it on every day and dance to it. And whatever shows up, shows up. That's all you're going to do.
Brilliant. Okay.
Simple, predictable, easy, and fun. All
Perfect.
things that I look for in a movement snack.
Perfect. So carry on with what I'm doing already, do the dance, and then when that's a little bit more balanced, go and do a bit more of the mental stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And literally all the stuff that you just mentioned with the app, with the
Those are going to be your layers. You're going to layer that later.
later. Okay, so I'm just going to hold that for now and I'm going to dance. Fine.
That's
Thank
right.
you so much.
Give
And thank
yourself the time and the patience and the graciousness to just master this skill.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
in time, like the more you feel safe and the more you do it, next thing you know, your body's going to shift, and it's because it feels safe.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be hard. And this is where it's like I have to undo all this like years of traumatic messaging from the health and fitness industry.
I used to be a physio and I'm an ex-dancer, so I've done a lot of it myself.
Yeah.
So
So that's right. One day at
yeah.
a time, but just focus on the things that's like focus on predictability and something that you can do. You're like, yes, like for me, it was the peanut. I can do the peanut every day. It made me feel good. It was grounded, and that's all I had to do. It's where I started. And then you just start layering. Because everybody's like, I have to do everything all at once. No, you don't. That's what the society tells you, but no, you don't. Not when you're healing trauma. We take one thing at a time and give you. So you'll know if you feel stuck, you know you went too fast. You layered too fast.
Okay.
That's how
Yeah.
you know. You're like, if you're really struggling with the mind, you're like, oh my God, my body, blah, 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 you went too fast.
Okay.
That's how you know.
Okay.
So
I'll
when you're
watch.
healing trauma, you got to take your time. And that's the thing, it's patience. And it's frustrating because we want everything yesterday.
Just want to feel better. Just want to
Mhm.
go. Yeah.
But if you give the body what it wants, safety, you
Yes.
feel better. So everything in the name of safety. So the other thing too is if you're dancing and your breathing is crap, then you got to take a step back and address your breathing. So remember that,
Okay.
right?
So deeper and not so shallow and
Light,
apical.
yeah, light and deep,
Light and deep.
light and deep breathing. So if you have to like, if you have to, I don't know, however you want to choose your breathing. So everybody chooses their different. That's why, like in my app, I have like 12 different breathing drills. Everybody's different. Everybody likes their own. Right? Some people are like, do box, do 4-7-8, do 3-2-1, whatever. Do hand tracing, do blow up a balloon, do diaphragmatic breathing. Everybody's got their style. Do yogic breathing, do ladder breathing. Whatever one works for you is perfect, but you got to start somewhere. So if you're doing something, so if, for all of you on the call, if you're doing some movement and you still feel stuck and you're like, I can't get on, or I'm not motivated, start with your breathing. Your breathing is stopping you. It's because you're not getting the oxygen you need. Your body doesn't feel safe.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Which leads me into a next point is stress reduction. Find ways to reduce your stress. So that's the biggest thing is, you know, it is going to be breathing again, choosing ways for you to breathe to help you calm yourself, being mindful of it. If you need, you know, a reminder, set up a notification, whatever, but breathing is the key to reducing your stress. Your perception of stress, that's a whole different conversation, but the idea is you want to schedule time to play, you want to schedule time to breathe, you want to schedule time to be alone. Like today I posted all about taking some alone time for yourself, because that is just important for your mental health, and not being, you know, some of us may live alone, but there's loneliness versus alone for your mental health. But stress reduction is a big key. You know, if you're a meditator, great. If you want to do yoga, great. If you want to go for a walk, great. If you want to sit in a chair and stare at the clouds or look at the trees, whatever it is that you choose, gardening or dancing or listening to music or art therapy or painting. The idea is that you want to schedule time for yourself every single day. And you're like, if you don't, it's just another message to your nervous system that you're not enough. You're not worthy because you're too busy. So you have to make a decision that I am worthy and I am enough, that I'm going to spend 2 minutes and listen to this song, or I'm just going to watch the leaves or watch the clouds or whatever. Right. Yeah. I mean, we can sit here and talk about stress reduction all day long, but there's so many things you can do. If you want to like look up vagus nerve exercises, those are fantastic things. That's the key. If you want to refocus on, excuse me, reducing your stress, look at vagus nerve. So I got tons of that stuff too. Your diet and quality sleep, those are obviously key important pieces to healing trauma. So, I mean, I've talked about this with my group, is that depending on which, again, which door are you walking through in order to help you heal? Is it through your diet? Is it through the emotion piece? Is it through is it through movement? Is it through diet? Is it through supplements? Is it through the energetic healing? Everybody's going to be a little bit different, but at the end of the day, talking to somebody, because everybody's like healthy diet is different and what works for you. And it's like, the biggest thing is like, is everybody watching the Blue Zones on Netflix? Anybody seen that? So if you watch the Blue Zones, no, you haven't seen it. So it's basically the people, the centenarians. So the people that live for a really, really long time. What are their diets and whatnot. So it all depends on like, obviously you all know what you need to do to eat better. Yes. We all know that we have to avoid processed foods. We need to drink water, limit your meats, lots of protein, plant-based foods, minimize, like the red meats and, more fruits and vegetables, all that sort of thing. But it's just a matter of, like convenience and ease, but being mindful. For me, diet, it's not necessarily what you eat, it's the state in which you eat it. That to me is the most important thing. What I see, the problem that I see is that in order for you to actually absorb the nutrients you need to be in a parasympathetic state. You have to be in a parasympathetic state, meaning if you are not either, so depending on if you're Ayurvedic or depending on whatever, modality or whatever the word I'm talking about, the word I'm thinking of, it's, some people believe that you need to eat in silence because that helps you digest more. Some people believe that you should eat in a group because you eat slower, you're talking, you're chewing more and whatnot. So the idea is whatever state you need to do to get into a parasympathetic state when you eat, that's the key, right? So if you're eating while you're driving, guaranteed you're not in a parasympathetic state. So I was watching this guy who owns, no offense to him, but he owns this like salad bar place and he wanted to lose 30 pounds and he was going to show it, he was like, I'm going to eat a salad every day for my 3 meals a day for 30 days and I'll be able to lose my weight. And this is how he's lost weight in the past. But the thing is, he's eating all of his meals in the car. What do you think that does to your nervous? How many nutrients do you think he's really absorbing? Not very many. Not very many. So you could be eating salads 3 times a day for 30 days and you still might not be getting the nutrients you need. So this is really important to understand. Like if you're going to focus on diet, focus on what do I need to do to get into a parasympathetic state? That's the problem. When we deal with trauma, the problem is spending more time in a parasympathetic state. Your nervous system is designed to be in a sympathetic state. All of you know what it's like to be in a, survival, stressed, fight or flight state, right? And this is what happens. This is where cancer ends up developing and all these diseases and dysfunctions and whatever, because you've been living in a survival state for so long. So your body only has a certain amount of tolerance. So what we want to do is invite more opportunities for you to be parasympathetic. So for me, my 2 cents, if you're going to focus on diet, it's not necessarily what you eat. It is, but it's not. It's more about the state. It's the state in which you eat it in. Cool? Any questions about that? And then If you spend more time in parasympathetic, what do you think is going to happen to your sleep quality? Is it going to go up or down? It's going to go up. That's right. So the more opportunities you give your body, your nervous system, to get into a parasympathetic state, you're going to sleep better and you're going to be able to recover better. So the thing is, what are activities that you need to do to, to increase your parasympathetic amount of time in a day? So if all of you just sat down and thought, how much time in the 24 hours, how many minutes, how many of the, yeah, let's just go with one day. In 24 hours, how many hours do you spend in a parasympathetic state? Does anyone want to gather? You're like, I have no flipping idea. Well, then that's what you need to figure out first. You're like, I don't know. I need you to do this for me. Do this research. If you're serious about healing trauma and you have no idea how much time you spend in a parasympathetic state, we need to start there. Because if you are like 80-20, I spend 80% of my time in sympathetic and 20% of my friend, there's your problem. Therein lies the problem. We need to create more. What does the body want? What does the body want? Homeostasis. It wants balance. What does that state feel like? Everybody's different. So it's rest and digest. Does that help? It's when you feel relaxed, when you feel calm, when you feel enthusiastic, when you feel joy, when you feel connected, when you feel love, when you feel higher energetic emotions. That's a parasympathetic state. Centered, grounded. Come on, my wordsmith, Wendy. Wendy, if you ever need a thesaurus, just message Wendy. She's amazing. She's fantastic. The sleep count is parasympathetic. Yes, it's supposed to, Clover. However, if you go to bed and you wake up if you're awake between 11 and 7 a.m., you are not in a parasympathetic state, my friend. And that's why you wake up, because your body can't fully recover. So I've been noticing, for me, I've been waking up at 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. So that is the lung that I'm screwed. You're not screwed, but what we need to do, here's to move from hopeless to hopeful, is we need to spend more time in a parasympathetic state. Because I know your trauma history, Amra, you're that person that you need to spend many more hours in a day in a parasympathetic state than somebody that hasn't been through your experience. I know this.
And that's
right?
impossible because you have to live life.
You do, and that's the problem. So this is where we have to find, when I am living in life, how do I bring in parasympathetic activities? And it starts with, right? It's all about how can you bring in the parasympathetic sensory inputs to help you shift your nervous system. Because you can literally shift, we all know this, or maybe you don't. You can literally shift your nervous system like that. You can literally shift it like that. And you don't believe me? Take my masterclass. We can do it listening to music. Anytime I put on music, you can shift it in 10 seconds. Boom, 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 boom. Right? Cannot sleep before 103, narcolepsy, and what do you mean a dolphin? Try to sleep earlier and I wake up feeling, yeah. So Clover, to help you sleep better, you need to spend more time. So this is you're a perfect example of, like, with your history and what you've told us with your story, is that you've lived in a survival state for a really, really long time. Okay. You've lived in a survival state a really, really long time. So your nervous system is not familiar with living in a parasympathetic state yet. So this is where your movement snaps are going to be very parasympathetic based. Okay. So like fire breathing would not be something that I would recommend for you. Meditation is basically going to be like a punch in the face for you at this point. Maybe not. It was for me when I first started. I'm like, do not ask me to meditate. I would rather like literally do anything else than meditate. I was like, I can't sit still. Okay, that's fine. There are different ways to get into a parasympathetic state. And this is the key. I also call them, like, another way to look at it are glimmers. What brings you a glimmer? What's a glimmer? Nature.
It's
I
the most
can't.
beautiful thing ever in the whole wide world. When you just walk outside and you see a squirrel with the zoomies is a glimmer.
Right.
Or you walk underneath, there's some massive trees where I live, and I get such a glimmer, literally just walking underneath the tree and seeing how far that canopy reaches. That's a glimmer for me.
Absolutely. So we want it. So the thing is, how many glimmers do you need to have in a day for you to be able to sleep better, for you to heal? Think about it. Start there. It's like, and so when you're going to sleep, how many glimmers did I experience today? And that's what you think about. So people call them gratitude lists. People like it's all depending on the language that you use. But the simple terms is when you have experienced trauma, we've all experienced it. We all have trauma. The problem is we're living too much of our lives in a sympathetic state. Period. Period. So what can I do to start inviting more parasympathetic opportunities into my life? That's the name of the game. That's what we're after. And we do that, and then what happens to disease? What happens to dysfunction?
Take
Right?
vacation.
Hopefully, it becomes more manageable to live with.
Exactly. It goes away because your body feels safer because now you're creating that balance, that homeostasis. You do need sympathetic state. You do need parasympathetic state. The problem is some of you were born with a bad hand. Like straight up, you really were. You dealt with a lot of crappy things in your life. Yes, Amra, like you're the perfect example. Like you had a bad hand, my friend. You really did. But the thing is, there are tools and there are opportunities for you to help manage. Like I think we're all given, we all have a life experience to put the tools and to learn, and all our learnings that we learn, we put forward. Same thing with me. That's why I feel like that's why I'm here. I'm here to offer the learnings that I had. I didn't necessarily, it wasn't necessarily a bad hand. I kind of, like it's ebb and flow and whatever. Bad things happened. But the big thing for me at this point is I've been able to forgive the things that have happened in my past. It almost feels like it was a different life. I'm like, that happened to me? Really? I don't it literally feels like a different life to me at this point because I've been able to heal and move on. So for me, it's like I was talking to somebody the other day about how do you know you've really healed from something when you're able to forgive? When you can forgive that piece. Some people are like, I'll never be like my mom is big on the things that happen to her. She can't forgive and her body's feeling it and she's having to manage that in her life, but I have. So to each his own. For me, the big piece is being able to forgive, and yes, that happened to me, but I'm able to move forward with the tools now that I have to help me heal and continue to move on to the next layer and to the next level of healing, right? And so my life now is really about it's going slower. Like you notice, like if you look at my last 3 posts on social media, it's all about going slow. Pause, being alone, spend time, like literally take more time to slow down. That's the biggest thing. And so it's so obvious to me now that our nervous systems are they're fried. We're just fried. No matter what your story is, we're fried. And so it's like yesterday in our mentorship, we talked about the blue zones, and we're talking about community. And the hardest part is the one thing, like a common denominator with the blue zones, it was really about having a network of people and that's actually the last point, is having that community of people, that like a collective of people that think and live the way that you do. They eat the same foods, they have faith, and they connect, and they move, and they have the same beliefs. And if you look at your neighborhood, in your like where you live right now in your neighborhood, how many people, like how many of your neighbors believe the same thing you do, that like are focused on moving their bodies, that have pets, that eat healthy foods. Like you look at the grocery store, you look inside somebody else's cart, what are they eating versus what you're eating? You know what I mean? Like, do they have the same thought process that you do? And the answer is no. Where like it's like we have these individual homes and we come together online in a community, which is fantastic, but there's a difference when you're around people in your neighborhood that have the same understandings and have the same goal and have the same purpose in life. Your tribe, that's right. You have your tribe. and it matters. That really, really matters. So for healing your trauma, that's why in January, it was the scariest thing I ever did is I created a group program, and I'm like, I'm going to lean onto something. I'm going to lean into something that's scary to me because I don't know what, because I was always afraid of groups, but I leaned into it and I've learned so much in the last 9 months. It's been absolutely amazing. And that's really where the healing has really happened, is in these groups and this community of people. And that's why I'm doing these calls, because I've learned how important it is, and that we don't have enough space in the world right now for us to that not enough spaces are being held for people to feel seen or heard or be able to share anything, right? And that's the biggest thing, is that many of us are living in a sympathetic state because we don't feel seen or heard or understand our situation, right? So I'm grateful for all of you for trusting me, and yay. But anyway, thank you, Cham. I'm so grateful that you're there. Well, I'm glad you're here, Clover. I'm really grateful you're here too. So that's the point. That's why I'm doing these, free calls, because I really understand the power. There's so much power in these calls and healing. And that's why I've decided, I'm like, I am recording these. I will be putting it out for more people, and hopefully more people will join us, because the more people we can join in this tribe, the more healing we're all going to have at the end of the day. That's what it's at. That's really what it's about. So it's like, hopefully this call helps give you a little bit of a parasympathetic opportunity. Really, it's not to stress you out. It's more to give you an opportunity to be like, how is my nervous system responding after I get off these calls, right? Am I more relaxed? Am I more calm? Am I more connected? Am I more grounded? That's my aim. That is my intention, to go from there. Cool. All right.
You rock, Julie.
Thanks. I'm trying hard to share and like lean into the scary parts.
I think you do more than you try, just to say, because you're not paid for this. You're doing this because you're just a humble human being, and you never sent you to us. And I feel so appreciative.
Yeah. Well, it's a gap that I see, and I'm like, if I can offer it, I'm going to offer it, because I think it's an important piece.
Well, not everybody will do it. There's a lot of people that can do the same and they're not doing it. So I truly appreciate everything you're doing for us.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for validating that. It's important. I'm like, I accept that. I'm receiving, Amra. I'm receiving. Yay. Right, Wendy?
As you should.
Right, Wendy? Receiving is just as important. So, Linda, parasympathetic, being able to receive compliments, that's a parasympathetic activity. Being able to accept it and not like brush it off and not acknowledge. That's something that we've been learning as a group as well. But what are 5 powerful healing emotional techniques? We've talked about most of them, actually. Journaling is one. So depending on if you are living in a sympathetic state versus a parasympathetic state, the type of journaling that you'll be doing, journaling with prompts or doing free writing, you're going to do those in different places. So journaling is definitely something that you can take a look at. So if you're someone that's stuck in the mental, so Clover, that may be something part of your layering that you want to look at, but looking at journals to help you, prompt you, so you don't just have the free reign to let your mind go. When you're more in a parasympathetic state, we want to have that ability to use our voice more. So that's where you get more of that freedom. So if you're in a sympathetic state, we want to start with journal prompts. Okay. Parasympathetic state, free write, have your fun, go for it. Meditation, however you choose. Mindful meditation is really, so how do you choose to meditate? So today, I didn't share the video, but this morning I did, so I actually took videos of all of my layered healing, and I did compression legs, I did nebulizing, I had orange glasses on, I did my eye drills, and I had my tea, I did a cold face plunge, and I did the peanut. So so basically I'm just sitting for most of it. So for about 30 minutes, that was my meditation. So when people say they have to sit and meditate and listen to music, I actually didn't listen to music. What was I doing? I was doing eye drills. I was just staring at the wall and doing eye drills. But mindful meditation, it just depends on you. It doesn't have to necessarily be sit still. It can be, it can be a sensory input layer, like so Clover, if you want to come heal in my gym, that's what we would do is we work on the sensory input. We would do some pressure. We would do some essential oils. We would do sound healing. We would do vibration and all these type of things. So what I do is I work on healing your nervous system that way. So when I talk about mindful meditation, what I mean is sensory, exposing your nervous system to sensory inputs, vagus nerve things that help you feel calm. Okay, does that make sense? Everybody's good with that? That's what I mean by mindful meditation. Breathing exercises, we talked about it. Pick one. Alternate nostril breathing is fantastic if you want. That's one I didn't talk about. But what I want to do is we're just going to do a couple breathing. We're going to do it right now because as I promised, I want to make sure that you leave here in a parasympathetic state. So is everybody ready to practice some breathing? You may not be, but if you want, I'd love for you to participate. So, oh, you've been using Sensate. Amazing. Good. That's another part of the layered healing. Where does that fit in? That's the vibration and the sound. So that's definitely going to be layerable. We'll come back to that. Sensate's fantastic. Okay, so what I want everybody to do is, if you can, put your feet flat on the ground. I just want you to we need to focus on grounding ourselves. So get your feet planted on the ground. If you can, take off your shoes. If not, that's okay. It's all good. What I'd like to invite you to do is go ahead and take a deep, slow inhale in through the nose. Hold that breath and just notice. And then exhale. Go ahead and breathe in again. Hold that breath. Notice any tension or stress that you may be holding in your body. And invite it to slowly exhale and release. If you feel comfortable, go ahead and place your hands on your belly just to notice and let your nervous system know this is where we want to get our breath to. Go ahead and take a deep breath in. Next, again through the nose, focusing on the hands expanding all the way 360. And exhale. I'm going to give you an opportunity to do that one more time. Expand the stomach and the lungs all the way, your whole torso is expanding and contracting. Continue on. Just slowing down your breath. All right, now we're going to bring some counts to your breath and see where you're at. So when you feel comfortable and you're ready, I'd like you to breathe in slowly through the nose, and you're going to count up to a count of 5. So breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then breathe out slowly for a count of 5. 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in. 2, and out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue on. Just go ahead and inhale and count to 4, 5, 6, whatever feels good for you. And then go ahead and count down as you exhale. I want you to just notice what's in your body as you count up and count down. Notice your body relaxing, easing off tension. Welcome those yawns. That's a sign of a parasympathetic break. So wherever you are in your count, when you finish your last exhale and count to 1, I'd like you to come back slowly, bring your attention to the room, noticing any sounds around you as you begin to open your eyes. And come on back when you're ready. And then go ahead and share how you feel. That's hence the yawn, Amanda. Yeah. Was that hard for anybody to relax? Your little mini me, Amanda. Hi! Kids are always so joyful. Awesome. Okay, so hopefully you feel a little bit more relaxed. I've adjusted my hold on my belly. Nice. That's amazing. Well done. Sleepy? Gonna have a nap now? Naps are good. Those are welcome too. Calm and relaxed, almost when we were stressed. Absolutely. Awesome. Okay, good. That's the idea. So this is what a parasympathetic state feels like. Okay. So the idea is we want to, yes, Wendy.
Can you explain why the hold is important?
The hold is important to work on CO2 tolerance. So CO2 tolerance is actually so all of us have, according to CPR, we have about 8 minutes of oxygen in our bodies at any given time. When we live in a sympathetic state, I'm loving the yawn. So we celebrate the yawns. Yay! Yawn! Because that's a sign that your body is shifting gears. So you may not have felt like you're in a sympathetic state, but that yawn is showing that your body is now downshifted. So you're maybe in gear 3 or 2, and now you're in 1, for example. But oxygen, many of us, when we live in a sympathetic state, we breathe too fast, too shallow, and too quickly. So we think what happens when we experience trauma is that we typically breathe way too quickly because we think we need more oxygen, but we really don't need more oxygen. What we need is more carbon dioxide to actually carry the oxygen molecules through our body. So the hold is really the opportunity for us to build up our CO2 tolerance. So this is where you can do a BOLT test or a BOLT score. And I just released a podcast this week with my dad where I actually have you assess your BOLT score. So if you want to go listen to that, you can definitely find that out. But essentially, your BOLT test is a better indicator of how well you are breathing. So if you are below the 20-second mark, the ideal is 40 seconds. But if you're below the 20-second mark, that's a sign that you're not breathing as efficiently as you should be at the end of the day. So the holds help us practice building up CO2 tolerance. So we can do that in different ways. And yeah. Are you just, you asked that question as a review or just for everybody else? Yeah, because we just talked about this.
Both. I like to hear things many times.
Awesome. I mean, it's important because I think most people are like, yeah, I do breathing drills. Okay, you can do breathing drills till you're blue in the face, and that's fantastic, but it's the hold that matters. The hold is really the key. So that's why, like my client this morning, I had him do the peanut. So we typically do on the peanut, we do 4-2-8 breathing, but I actually had him hold. So I had him do 4, hold for 8, and then release for 8. And he's like, oh my God, this is such a difference. I'm like, yeah, it is. You feel complete difference, especially when you're adding pressure to your bladder and kidney meridians where fear is held. He was feeling a whole lot of stuff. So I was practicing that. That's what I did this morning. And I noticed a big shift. So just something I encouraged all of my groups to practice doing movement with breath holds. So just a reminder, that's something that you can do, but that's beyond today's call. The last 2 things in order to help you, the healing techniques are art therapy. If you haven't partaken, bye Amra, thanks for being here. If you haven't taken part in art therapy, definitely a super powerful way. Who is it? Is it Peter Levine? I don't know if it's Peter Levine. I can't remember which which of the body guys was talking about, like, art therapy is a huge piece to healing trauma, especially people with PTSD. Like even like Viola Davis. Has anybody read her book? If you haven't, it's really, anyway, she talks about all of her trauma as a child and how acting was a fantastic way for her to heal her trauma. And a lot of actors typically have a lot of experience, a lot of trauma, and the acting allows them to release that awesome. Yeah. So it helps them release the traumas that are pent up in their bodies. And so movement therapy, that's why like dancing is so recommended and whatnot, like somatic therapy. And that's the last one, is movement. Choosing, if you choose to do, like most people talk about trauma-informed movement, and it's usually yoga, but what I'm trying to do is make it more mainstream. It doesn't necessarily have to be just yoga. It can be any type of movement. It's really bringing that intention and the mindfulness to put on a song and just let your body go. There's no right or wrong. And that's really the big thing, is when we're trying to heal trauma, there's no right or wrong. Whatever you're doing is absolutely perfect. And that's really, the bottom line for me. And if you're focusing on your breathing and just noticing any tension patterns, and you go slow or you go fast, it's fantastic, because that's whatever's showing up is exactly perfect for you. And that's how your body, you lean more into that. And that's how we start healing the trauma, and you can start layering up as you go. Cool? All right. I'm reading the chat here, sorry. Yes, not to overdo it, for sure. Liberating to hear that dance can be healing. Absolutely. It's huge. I mean, I think there's a shift coming. Well, the somatic world is very much, it's all about dance and whatnot. And, like, it's gonna be like yoga. Yoga got kind of butcherized a bit in terms of like what the true yoga is. But at the end of the day, if we just focus on the feeling, whatever movement you choose to do, if you're going to go for a walk, if you're going to lift weights, if you're going to, do CrossFit, if you're going to just do breath work, whatever, it's not just, but if you're going to, whatever you choose, it's perfect. That's like, we sit with it. It's all in the name of safety and what you're doing to honor your body and what you need in this moment. You're not doing it to check a box. It's not about checking boxes. You've checked a lot in your life. I'm inviting you to stop checking boxes, which is hard to do, but it's an opportunity for you to just check in with yourself and honor what your body needs and what your mind, body, and spirit need in the moment. And that's how we can start healing from trauma. Cool. Are there any questions at this point? I'm done my notes. I don't have anything else to share on that point, but yeah, is that good?
Can you do a really quick review of the bullet points?
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay. Really quick review of the bullet points. Okay. So, how to heal trauma. Let me go back because I closed it. Sorry. Okay. So, how to heal from trauma. First one, limit media exposure, social media exposure in particular. 2, accept how you feel. 3, take positive actions. 4, move your body. 5, stress reduction practices. 6, a healthy diet and quality sleep, which is basically the parasympathetic activities. And 7 is join a community. Okay. And the powerful healing techniques, how do we do that? Journaling, mindful meditation, however you choose, mindful sensory inputs, breathing exercises, art therapy, and movement are 5 ways that you can start healing your trauma. Cool. There you go. All right. Are there any questions, anything we talked about? You're like, I knew all these things, Julie. Now I just need to put it in play. So the key is from here, pick one. You don't have to do it all. Pick one. Pick the easiest, most predictable one for you and try to repeat it as often as you can. Movement snacks. Like if it's literally 1 minute a day, multiple times a day, pick one with intention. Exactly.
Can I just ask you to repeat number 4, please? Oh, I think I've got 4 and 5. I've got limit social media.
Yep.
Accept feelings, positive actions, and then 4 and 5 I've not, and then I've got 6 healthy diet and
Move your
7 and
body.
4 move. The one I should be listening to.
Move your
Interesting.
body in a, well, I should say move your body in a safe way.
Okay.
Well, Clover, you were talking about movement while we went over that, so that was maybe why you didn't write
Yeah.
it. You shared instead.
And then the one
Okay, and
after
then
that is stress reducing
stress reduction.
activities.
Excellent.
So stress reduction, so that would particularly be like anything that has to do with vagus nerve exercises.
So my Sensate device is useful for that as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. Fantastic.
So for you, if you're looking at it, just start like, so for all those bullet points, you start with one and we do that. So the key is like, do it for like 2 weeks. And then if you're like, yeah, I got this down,
Oh.
then we bring in the next. Because the problem is that everybody, like people try to do all of these all at once. You're going to fail. And then you're going to feel like, I'm a failure. I can't do this. I'm not worthy. I'm not enough, blah, 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 blah. So those feelings, that mental, recording that you've had for years is going to come back up. So this is where it's like, you have to go slow. So this is why it's important that, like it's important to take your time and have support with it, because sometimes it's not fast enough. You're like, I'm still stuck because we're not going fast enough. And we keep having to learn that lesson, right? The layering is absolutely, it's really, really important. Cham, I love it. Your diet is exactly, it's what you watch, it's what you listen to, it's what you read, it's the people you hang around. Be mindful of the things you're putting into your body emotionally, physically. Absolutely. Physically, mentally, all of it. That is your diet, 100%. So it's just a matter of, like, where do I start? Start with the easiest, most predictable thing for you. That's the biggest thing. So that's why I can't say all of us need to start with breathing. Okay, what style of breathing? How often should you do it? Everybody's going to be different because you all have your own story. So that's why you hire a coach to get a little bit more like, I don't know. Then you need to seek out help. If you're like, I want to take away the guesswork, then you ask. That's when you reach out and ask for help. But a lot of people will just scroll through social media, like, oh, that looks like a cool exercise. I get that a lot. Oh, that looks so cool. I'm going to try that this morning. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And that's great, because that's what I try to do on my social media is I sprinkle parasympathetic activities. That's what I do. So if I know if you're doing a few of these, you're going to feel better. I know that because I'm offering parasympathetic opportunities for you on my feed. And that's very intentional.
Can I just ask you the thing that drew me in and the thing that really works with the first somatic exercise I learned was the butterfly hug or the butterfly breathing. So where does that fit in? Does that fit in with like breathing or where is it now? Is it move your body? Is it a stress reduction activity?
Yep. It could
Okay,
be
cool.
move your body as well, because what you're doing with somatic is that it's a sensory input. And so you're resetting your nervous system to understand where your container is, right? So
Okay.
when you're doing a somatic butterfly, it's because you're feeling dysregulated. So meaning you're feeling more of the heavier emotions. You're feeling more of the, I'll say negative, but the heavier ones that tend to keep you in a downward spiral. So that's where we're going to do this to help you bring back, to help you feeling safe again, because this is my left side and this is my right side. And I want to do that. And then we typically do it with breathing, which is going to elicit a parasympathetic response.
Amazing. Thank you.
That makes sense? So some
Yes.
people, like, you could do it before bed, for instance, if you need. So the idea is that for me, this is stimulating. Tapping, I have learned, I don't like it. It's overstimulating. That's why I learned that vibration. I have every vibration tool from like Hyper Ice and the whole bit. Like, I love that stuff because it feels good nervous system wise, because I was overstimulated. Like, I talk fast. I move my hands a lot. I fidget a lot. And the vibration was meeting me where I was at. But what I realized when you do all this work is that the vibration was keeping me activated where I needed to learn how to be more calm. So I've removed tapping, I've removed vibration from me, because I know that's not healing for me. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. That makes so much sense. I'm a practicing Buddhist and I chant, and I know that some people who are have higher energy, especially if they have any kind of mental issues, can find it really overstimulating. Whereas for me, I use it to bring my energy level up because I can be quite in freeze, or you know, and I got along with ADHD, the disassociation, the D bit, I don't remember what it is, the slower moving bit. I need stimulation, so things like the taps really help.
Yeah.
And then, like someone had just mentioned with vibration, I use my Sensate, which vibrates, and that helps bring me when I'm really heightened down, and enables me to sleep. So just responding to the vibration sleep comment there. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's
Thank
it.
you.
Because sometimes, like, some people it does make them sleepy. Some people it overactivates. And again, it all depends on where your nervous system's starting at. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
That's why I can't just say everybody use vibration. And if people are saying it blank statement, you can't. You can't. There's a time and a place for it. That's all I'm saying, is that every modality works. Every single modality on this planet, healing modality, they all work. It's just a matter of the time and the place that you need it for you. And that's the hard part, is knowing which modality, which tool do I need when. And that's why we reach out for help. Because I'm like, I've been through a lot of different things. So I share a lot of things that have worked for me. And I also understand that because I'm trauma informed, I understand that you have a story, you have an experience. So we're going to have different, like every single client that I've worked with, the hundreds, everybody started at a different place because I listen to you and your story and where you go. I can't just, everybody starts with breathing. Sometimes that's not where we go, because I have clients who are brains. I have a client, so I have clients who could be bipolar, or like my daughter struggles with anxiety. She does not like breathing. She would rather scream her head off and tell me not to. No, she breathe. Telling somebody with anxiety, it's like telling somebody with anxiety to calm down. That's like the most wrong thing that you can. Just calm down. Just relax. Just relax. I was told that my whole life. Just relax, Julie. Yeah, right. I'm like, no. When it doesn't work that way. The nervous system isn't prepared. So there are other doors that we can go through. Yeah, so that's it. So it's just like, just think better. You just got to think your way better, right? So anyway, so that's why it's an opportunity to understand that it's just a matter of figuring out what tools do you need when, and your body has all the wisdom and the answers. My job that I see is I'm just trying to help guide you to what your body's trying to tell you. That's how I see myself. That's amazing, Amanda. Yay. That's it. So that's the idea, is that the inner circle in my mentorship is to help you feel unstuck. You're like, okay, I tried this, I tried this, I tried this. Then we look at, different, what are some modalities, or what's something that I don't see? Because the biggest thing when you're in pain is that that's all you're focused on, right? You got your blinders on. You're like, all I can focus on is this pain. But we don't necessarily, we don't have the bandwidth, like in our conscious mind, to go like, what are other opportunities? And that's why when you're in a community, it's really about, here are some other things that have worked to me when I felt the same thing or something similar. Yeah, Wendy.
I wanted to say, in the community, everybody has a different thing that they maybe initially came in for, like nutrition or sleep or pain, anxiety, attention, all different things. And I learn from everybody with that, and where it can apply to me, but also learn about others. So that community is just such a huge piece for me. And also it's just a welcoming place to talk about the things and learn in live real time. So that's been essential for me, because I was doing everything alone last year. So this year is a game changer.
I think, honestly, I personally think a lot of people do it that way. Is that I do it on my own. I've been trying all the things. I hear that a lot. I've been doing all the things, but I'm still stuck. Right. And then that's where, like, then you reach out and stuff. And I think that's just part of the healing journey. Just everybody has different starting points, which is totally okay. But yeah, you're right. And that's what's cool about the group, is that it's very much real time. I have this problem, and what can we do? So it's fun to deal with real world issues, because that's the reality, right? Life will continue regardless of what we tried to do to make it stop. But anyway, yes. Okay, is everybody happy? Anybody else want to have anything to share? Everybody's good? Just want to hold space for whatever is showing up. But thank you all for being here and sharing your time with me. Hopefully you feel a little bit more calm or connected or grounded or safe or whatever it is the word that you're looking for. Yeah, so next week, what's next week's? Anybody paying attention or like, what's my order? Next week, I'm talking about, did we do the inner child one yet? No. No, we did feminine. So it's how to discover your inner child and how to heal your inner child is next week. Yay! I'll be posting the day and time in Mighty Network, so stay tuned for when that is, because I'm still trying to schedule some other clients, so I just want to make sure that I accommodate everybody evenly. Cool. All right, thank you all for being here, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks.